The 1980s weren't just a game of design. It was an era where speed became the ultimate goal. While other countries were still clinging to tradition, Japan had already broken free and accelerated. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki. They didn't build bikes to be displayed. They built machines to win. Sharper engines, bolder designs, and performance. Powerful enough to make the whole world take notice. So what was the result? It was the fastest, boldest, and most unforgettable motorcycles of the entire decade. Today, we're looking back at the top 10 names, machines that didn't just chase speed, they redefined it. Number 10. Yamaha FZ750. It didn't shout, it didn't pose. But when the Yamaha FZ750 rolled out in 1985, it quietly launched something no one saw coming, a new era of engineering. Under that modest fairing was a 749 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine, but not just any four. Each cylinder carried 5 valves, 3 intake, 2 exhaust, giving this bike a total of 20 valves. Why? To breathe deeper, rev faster, and pull harder through every inch of the power band, and it worked. The FZ750 made around 105 horsepower and could run up to 148 miles per hour. But it wasn't just about top speed, it was how it got there. Power delivery was smooth, relentless, and balanced. From low-end roll-ons to wide-open straights, the FZ750 stayed composed, planted through corners, confident on the highway. The steel perimeter frame gave it strength. The forward inclined engine lowered the center of gravity. Everything about it was deliberate, and that's what made it dangerous. Not because it looked fast, but because it was fast, without even trying. This was Yamaha's quiet declaration. We're not just building motorcycles anymore. We're building the future. Number 9. Suzuki GSXR1100 Katana. At first glance, the Katana didn't even look like a motorcycle. Its sharp lines, squared-off fairing, and futuristic stance made people stop, stare, and wonder. Was it beautiful? Was it ugly? Nobody could agree. But one thing was certain. It was fast. Built around a reworked 1,073 cubic centimeter inline-4 from the GS lineup, the Katana delivered a solid 111 horsepower and roughly 72 pound-feet of torque. And it didn't just hit the gas hard, it kept pulling, clean and steady, across the entire rev range. Top speed? About 147 miles per hour. Unthinkable for a bike that looked more like a design study than a speed machine. But the Katana didn't just rely on numbers. Its steel frame was stiff. Its brakes were strong. At high speeds, it stayed planted and composed, even when other bikes started to twitch. And maybe that was the point. Suzuki wasn't trying to make something pretty. They were trying to shake up the system, to challenge what a fast bike should look like. And in doing so, they created a machine that wasn't just ahead of its time. It made time stop and stare. Number 8. Kawasaki GPZ1000 Turbo. This wasn't a concept. It wasn't a lab experiment. It was turbocharged power brought straight to your garage. The Kawasaki GPZ1000 Turbo took the heart of a middleweight sport bike, a 738 cubic centimeter inline-4, and bolted on a turbocharger. The result? About 112 horsepower and 73 pound-feet of torque, packed into a machine that could outrun bikes with bigger engines and better pedigrees. Top speed hovered around 145 miles per hour, within striking distance of full-liter superbikes. But it wasn't just the speed, it was how the bike delivered it. Twist the throttle, and you'd feel a steady pull. Then the turbo spooled up, and suddenly it felt like a second engine kicked in. To handle that surge, Kawasaki reinforced the frame and upgraded the suspension. This wasn't a toy. It was a serious street machine, engineered to take a punch and throw one right back. No gimmicks, no apologies. The GPZ750 Turbo proved that forced induction wasn't just for racers or dreamers. It was real, rideable, and brutally effective. This was Kawasaki at their boldest, breaking rules, building boost, and sending a message. Speed doesn't need displacement, it just needs pressure. Number 7. Yamaha RZ500. Some bikes don't just go fast. They feel fast before you even twist the throttle. The Yamaha RZ500 was one of them. At its heart was a liquid-cooled 492 cubic centimeter V4 two-stroke engine, ripped straight from Yamaha's Grand Prix playbook. This wasn't inspired by racing, it was racing, made street legal. It cranked out around 88 horsepower and topped out near 135 miles per hour. But the numbers only told half the story. Because when the RZ hit its power band, it exploded to life. Down low, it was tame enough for daily riding. But once the revs climbed and the chambers lit up, you weren't just riding anymore, you were holding on, lightweight, nimble, razor sharp. It danced through corners with a level of control that few four-strokes could match. Not just fast in a straight line, fast everywhere. And it looked the part too. Twin pipes out back, fairings shaped like its track-borne cousin. Every detail said one thing. This was a real race bike, wearing a license plate. The RZ500 didn't pretend. It didn't compromise. It just delivered pure two-stroke madness. One twist at a time. Number 6. Suzuki RG500 Gamma. If the RZ500 was inspired by Grand Prix racing, then the Suzuki RG500 Gamma was something else entirely. A race bike, slightly tamed, and barely. Underneath its fairing sat a 497 cubic centimeter square 4 two-stroke, nearly identical to the engine Suzuki used in its 500 cubic centimeter GP machines. It made around 94 horsepower and 43 pound-feet of torque, and with a curb weight under 400 pounds, this thing didn't need any more than that. Top speed, roughly 135 miles per hour, but that was just the headline. What mattered was how it got there. Crack the throttle, and the Gamma surged ahead with violent urgency. There was no delay, no forgiveness. It responded instantly and demanded the same from you. The lightweight frame and sharp brakes gave it laser-like precision in corners. But it didn't hold your hand. Every mistake was yours to feel. This wasn't a bike you rode casually. It was a commitment. Every twist of the wrist, every lean into a turn. It asked everything from the rider and gave back tenfold. The RG500 Gamma didn't just blur the line between street and track. It erased it. Number 5. Kawasaki GPZ1000R Ninja. Some bikes change the game. Others start a whole new one. In 1984, Kawasaki unveiled the GPZ900R Ninja, and nothing in the sport bike world would ever be the same again. It was the first production motorcycle to break 150 miles per hour right off the showroom floor. No tuning, no mods, just key, clutch, and go. At its core was a 908 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline 4, producing around 115 horsepower and 63 pound-feet of torque. But the magic wasn't just in the numbers. It was in how everything worked together. Smooth throttle response, linear power delivery, stable handling at high speeds. The GPZ didn't feel edgy or dangerous. It felt refined, confident, and fast without the drama. And that's what made it so revolutionary. It proved that a bike could be blisteringly quick and still rideable every day. This wasn't a race replica, it was the real deal, and the blueprint for every Ninja that came after. Kawasaki didn't just build a super bike, they built a legacy. And for many riders, the Ninja 900 was the first time speed felt truly civilized. Number 4. Suzuki GSXR1100. If the GPZ900R was the gentleman's super bike, then the Suzuki GSXR1000 was its brawling cousin. Bigger, louder, and absolutely unforgiving. Introduced in 1986, this beast came armed with a 1,085 cubic centimeter air and oil-cooled inline-4, delivering around 137 horsepower and a crushing 85 pound-feet of torque. Top speed? Nearly 165 miles per hour, and it got there like a freight train with no brakes. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't delicate, but it was fast. And that's all it ever wanted to be. The GSXR1100 didn't try to hide its weight or soften its punch. Instead, it leaned into it. A rigid chassis and long wheelbase gave it surprising stability at full tilt, while the raw torque made throttle roll-ons feel like launching a rocket. It didn't whisper, it roared. It didn't finesse, it overpowered. And for the riders who could handle it, there was nothing more thrilling. This wasn't a sport bike built for lap times. It was built to dominate straights, crush highway pulls, and leave everything else in its wake. The GSXR1100 was more than a motorcycle. It was Japanese muscle, pure and simple. Number 3. Yamaha FZR1000 Genesis. If the GSXR1100 was raw power, then the Yamaha FZR1000 Genesis was proof that speed didn't have to be wild. It could be calculated, composed, and devastatingly precise. At its core was a 989 cubic centimeter inline-4 featuring Yamaha's signature 5 valves per cylinder. It made around 136 horsepower and 75 pound-feet of torque, with a top speed just shy of 159 miles per hour. But what made the Genesis stand out wasn't the number at the end of the speedometer. It was the way it got there. Throttle response was smooth. Acceleration came in waves, controlled, deliberate, and endlessly repeatable. There was no sudden surge, just an unrelenting pull that kept building. A lightweight aluminum frame and finely tuned suspension gave the FZR laser-precise handling at high speeds. It didn't flinch, it didn't fight, it just tracked, corner after corner, straight after straight. This was Yamaha's most complete sport bike of the decade. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but perhaps the most perfectly balanced. It didn't just earn respect, it demanded it quietly and confidently, one flawless ride at a time. Number 2. Kawasaki GPZ1000RX. Before the world met the ZX series, Kawasaki had already fired a warning shot, and its name was the GPZ1000RX. Launched as the successor to the legendary GPZ900R, this machine came out swinging with a 997 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline-4, delivering roughly 125 horsepower and 71 pound-feet of torque. And it didn't waste time. Top speed? Around 165 miles per hour, putting it squarely in the upper echelon of 1980s speed demons. It accelerated hard, it pulled strong, and it never hesitated. Despite its weight, the RX felt planted and confident. Its frame was solid, its ride was stable, and when the pace picked up, it held its line like it was on rails. It wasn't around for long, just a brief chapter in Kawasaki's playbook. But it made an impact, because what came after it was the ZX dynasty. The GPZ1000RX was more than a fast bike. It was a transition of power, a glimpse of what Kawasaki was about to unleash next. It didn't need to stay long to be remembered. It just needed to be fast enough to leave a mark, and it did. Number 1. Kawasaki Ninja ZX10 Tomcat. If the GPZ1000RX was the warning shot, then the Ninja ZX10 Tomcat was the kill strike. Released at the close of the decade, this machine wasn't just fast. It was the fastest production Japanese motorcycle of the entire 1980s. Powered by a 997 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline-4, the ZX10 cranked out around 135 horsepower and 75 pound-feet of torque. Top speed? An earth-shaking 167 miles per hour. But numbers alone didn't make it great. It was how the bike carried that speed, with confidence, stability, and a terrifying sense of ease. The aluminum perimeter frame kept it stiff and responsive. Aerodynamic fairings sliced through the wind, and the throttle? Smooth, until it wasn't, until it turned into a full-force missile on two wheels. It was fast, but more than that, it was composed at speed. A bike you could actually ride hard and not get chewed up. This was Kawasaki's final word for the decade, a bold declaration that echoed through the sport bike world. We don't follow speed. We lead it. A decade, 10 machines, each one a statement of speed, power, and the limitless ambition of Japanese engineering. From the thunderous scream of two strokes to the sudden surge of turbocharged fury, from the streets of Tokyo to the highways of America. These bikes weren't just fast. They redefined what fast really meant. What about you? Have you ever ridden one of the bikes on this list? Or is there another name you believe deserved a spot? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because your story is what keeps these legends alive. If you found this video memorable, don't forget to hit like, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next ride, where we'll keep exploring the machines that once took the world's breath away with speed. We'll see you in the next video.